time for another devlog. This time from my latest project, Golf Island. Recently, I've been hearing more and more fellow game developers talking about making smaller games. The whole idea summarized, very simplified and interpreted by me, is to focus on games with a smaller scope. The way I'm taking on this challenge is to give a game a maximum of 3 months of development time, publish it and move on to the next project. This doesn't necessarily mean abandoning a project once it's released, but rather expand on the projects that resonate with players. This instead of putting a good 5 years into your dream project and never see it gain the traction you were hoping for. So, while not sinking years of time into a single passion project, I still want to make smaller games I feel passionate about. I ran through a few ideas, but decided on a golf game. My requirements were few, but I wanted to create something that wasn't necessarily dependent on me creating new content for the game. Not to say that there won't be more content in a future update, but rather me not having to design the levels. So, this took me from a regular golf game to a golf game with randomly generated levels. For me, it's not just about making a game, it's about making something I'd actually enjoy playing myself. I want to release this game and be proud of what I accomplished in 3 months' time. I'd say I'm roughly 2 weeks in, and this is what I have so far. I did start with simple levels using primitive objects in Unity. I did also, almost as quickly as I began, move on to randomized levels. For now, I'm just working with a few simple tiles, but will expand this list in the near future. I'm thinking tiles with obstacles, special ones with jumps, and so on. These are just a few examples, with more to come. With that in mind, let's talk about what the game actually is. I've got 2 initial game modes in mind. First, and probably the most obvious, an endless mode. Probably self-explanatory, but the idea is basically to spawn in the player, start the game, and when the ball reaches the goal, we move on to the next random level. I'm still figuring out whether endless mode will be a completely relaxed, zen-like experience with no stroke limits or penalties, or if I should add just a tiny bit of structure. Maybe celebrate those satisfying hole-in-ones, but otherwise keep it very zen-like. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Now, I'm also planning to launch the game with a classic mode. This is probably more what you're used to, a classic 18-hole game. For the classic mode, the idea is that you generate levels using a seed, and the entire 18-hole course gets generated at once. This makes it easy for you to invite your friends to play the same course and compare scores. Let's have a look at the more techy side of the game to see how I've solved a few challenges. I was able to use and reuse some code from Tiny Golf Adventure, but I've already made plenty of improvements and added plenty of new features. For starters, there's a brand new game state manager that communicates with the rest of the game through events. This is useful for a number of reasons, but to name a few, I can pause the game and send out a message, and only the objects affected by this will listen to the change. When the ball reaches the goal, I can enter the victory state, which will stop the physics calculations for the ball and let the UI know that it should present the player with the current score. I've also built a queue system that currently handles tasks during the initialization of the game. It starts by placing the start and the end tiles, then generates the level based on those constraints, spawns in the player, and finally, once everything is ready, as in the level is done generating and the player has found its starting position, the game starts. While I'm sure this can be improved, it has been a very efficient way to make sure the game waits until everything is ready before it starts. The level generation is most often done in an instant, but in case it takes that extra second, I don't want the player to spawn in before there's a level ready. That's it for this short devlog. If you're into game development or just want to chat, you're very welcome to join my new Discord channel. I'll be posting updates there and share prototypes of Golf Island for testing. I'd love for you to try the game out early and give me some feedback. You can also drop your feedback in the comments below, I'll make sure to check them out. The game is set to launch on February 28th and the Steam page will be live soon, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.